On June 29, 2024, the day after the presidential election in Iran, which according to reliable statistics was boycotted by 88% of the Iranian people, two important global events were held by the Iranian resistance in the two European capitals of Berlin and Paris. In Berlin, tens of thousands of Iranians from all over the world gathered in the Bebelplatz Square to support Mojahedin, MEK, and Iranian people's organized resistance and call for regime change in Iran. Prominent international and German personalities spoke in this gathering and demonstration. The speakers called the Iranian people's boycott of the regime's elections a brave act and supported the change of the Iranian regime as the only solution to the Middle East crisis and war in wider dimensions. At the same time, in Paris, three-day summit of Free Iran 2024 began with the presence of dozens of international political and legal figures. The opening speaker of the event was Mrs. Maryam Rajavi, the president-elect of the National Council of Resistance of Iran, NCRI. Referring to the boycott of the elections in Iran, she said that the people of Iran declared in the clearest way that our vote was overthrow the regime. Mrs. Rajavi stressed on the Iranian resistance and the people's mujahideen.
در نبرد با دیکتاتوری های شاه و شیخ که به زودی وارد 60مین سال خود می شود. جنبشی در رزم و رنج وقف ناپذیر با شکنجه و زندان و حلق‌آویز و تیرباران و خانه به دوشی دائمی.
Mike Pence, the 48th U.S. Vice President, emphasized that the Iranian regime fears the Iranian resistance more than anything.
My wife and I have been to Ashraf 3 in Albania. I've spoken with the survivors who sacrificed for freedom. I've looked through the pages of the Book of the Fallen. I know the MEK is ready to lead. I want the wider world to understand that MEK and the NCRI share the same values that Western nations hold dear.
Secretary Mike Pompeo, another key speaker of the summit, emphasized that mullahs cannot destroy the spirit of the Iranian people, referring to his visit to Ashraf 3 in Albania. He said,
I saw this when I visited Ashraf 3, and I was reminded of it too. I was encouraged. I never forget being showed the red-covered book. Its pages contained the names of the tens of thousands of people who had been martyred, who had been killed by this regime. But a noble cause cannot be destroyed. And I know that none of you will let that happen. And your cause is indeed noble.
In their joint message to the summit, the American senators, Tom Tillis and Jeanne Shaheen, said,
"The United States stands with you in your fight for freedom and democracy. That's why Senator Shaheen and I have recently introduced the Senate Resolution 599 calling on the protection of the Iranian political refugees in Ashraf 3 in rejection of the Iranian regime's demands and stating that they must be afforded their fundamental rights of freedom of expression and of assembly and legal political activities in Albania."
We join those in Ashraf and Iranians around the world in standing up for these human rights and pushing back against the tide of authoritarianism.
David Jones, a member of the British Parliament and the former Minister of Wales, was another speaker of this meeting. He said,
"The future of Iran must be determined by the people of Iran, who very clearly want a democratic republic. And that will only be achieved through an organized democratic resistance movement exemplified by Madam Rajavi and the NCRI. We are fast approaching the day when Iran will be free. Thank you very much."
General James Jones, President Obama's national security advisor, said in his speech,
"The global community must do far, far more in support of the future envisioned by Mrs. Rajavi and the NCRI set forth in the 10-point plan that has been discussed already. In fact, so fearful is the regime by the power of ideas and ideals for which the NCRI and organized resistance stands, it has relentlessly terrorized and attacked them and their supporters.
Other speakers of this meeting were Congresswoman Mays.
We must also ensure the safety of all men and women in Camp Ashraf 3. They deserve the rights stipulated in the Geneva Convention and the European Convention on Human Rights, including the rights to life, the rights to liberty, security, freedom of expression, and assembly. In the U.S. House of Representatives, I'm one of many co-sponsors on the House resolution, the bipartisan House resolution H-Res 1148. This resolution, which has majority support, backs the 10-point plan for the future of Iran, authored by Maryam Rajavi.
And that is why, as member of Congress, I am proud supporter, as well as Congresswoman Nancy Mace, a Republican, and I'm a Democrat, House Resolution 1148, which expresses support for the Iranian people's desire for a democratic and non-nuclear Republic of Iran and condemns the violations of human rights.
Some other speakers during these 3 days of the summit included Liz Truss, British Prime Minister 2022, Guy Verhofstadt, former Belgian Prime Minister and member of the European Parliament, Matteo Renzi, Prime Minister of Italy 2016, Michel Alliot-Marie, former French Foreign and Defense Minister, John Bolton, National Security Advisor to the President Trump, Stephen Harper, Canadian Prime Minister 2015, Abdullah Hoti, former Prime Minister of Kosovo, Louis Freeh, FBI Director 2001, Michael McCasey, 81st U.S. Attorney General, John Bercow, UK Parliament Speaker from 2009 to 2019, Ambassador Robert Joseph, former U.S. Special Envoy for Nuclear, General Wesley Clark, NATO Commander during the Kosovo War, Kersti Kaljulaid, President of Estonia, 2016 to 2021, Natalia Gavrilita, former Prime Minister of Moldova, Peter Altmaier, former German Federal Minister, Kathleen de Porter, member of the Belgian Parliament, Nike Gruppioni, member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Italian Parliament, Senator Gary Peters, U.S. Senator, Senator Ted Cruz, U.S. Senator, Senator Sam Brownback, U.S. Ambassador for Religious Freedom, 2018-2021, Alexander Acosta, U.S. Secretary of Labor, 2017-2019. In this summit, representatives of Iranian communities in America and Europe also gave speeches.
My name is Dr. Solmaz Abouali, and I'm a scholar, an athlete, and a former refugee. I received my PhD in the United States in the field of conflict resolution and am a three-time world champion and 15-time U.S. national champion in traditional karate. We see no other movement that has bled, that has sacrificed, that has survived, and has inspired and empowered generations of men and women, boys and girls, toward the realization of a free Iran. This is the foundation that Mrs. Rajavi has sown, and in my book, she is the real champion. And it's for this reason that I have gifted my gold medals to her.
Another high point of the summit was when David Jones from the British Parliament announced as an extraordinary achievement that more than 4,000 parliamentarians from 50 countries and 84 parliaments from all over the world supported Mrs. Rajavi's 10-point plan and the efforts of the resistance units to establish the Democratic Republic of Iran. This includes the support of a majority of 34 parliaments, including the House of Commons and the House of Lords of the United Kingdom. The representatives of the parliaments of each country presented the signature of their parliament to Mrs. Rajavi. The Free Iran 2024 World Summit ended its work after 3 days on the evening of July 1st with a commitment to more efforts and with increased hopes for the overthrow of Iran's religious dictatorship and the establishment of a free democratic republic.